I think one of the most underappreciated and overlooked characters in Entry Point is Falcon. His lack of dialogue and cutscenes, along with his eventual death at the hands of the Freelancer, created a very obscure character, one whose story isn't quite yet told. Every single file that Chitado introduced to Entry Point is part of a huge world-building process that ultimately creates an incredibly intricate story. While some files aren't necessarily as important as others, Falcon's file reveals something about his character that could very well change Entry Point's story. His actions, seemingly lackluster in comparison to the other characters, are potentially some of the most influential and story-changing of them all. Let's start from the beginning. According to Falcon's personnel file, Blake Danger sorry, I refuse to believe that someone genuinely has the last name Danger, was born on August 4th, 1984, putting him in his late 20s or early 30s during the events of Entry Point. Not much is really known about his past, except that he used to work as a Steel Cove operative in his early 20s. He was a pretty strong operative, and his files stated that he was rising quickly through the organization's ranks. This all changed following a falling out with Steel Cove leadership. It's never explicitly stated what this falling out was, other than that he refused to comply with specific orders from his commanding officer. That's an odd way of wording it. It's strongly implied that this refusal to follow orders is because he morally disagreed with something the officer was ordering him to do. This disagreement led to the death of his CO, with Blake on the run. Honestly, Halcyon took a pretty big risk and eventually invited him to join their organization in 2006, despite his former occupation as a government agent. That ended his story in the file, though, as we know, he took part in several operations in Entry Point's main game, too. He first appeared in the Black Site mission. As Ren mentioned, Falcon acted as a getaway pilot for the crew to escape. As you all know, he also acted as the assassin for Rose, as mentioned in the wiretap file found in the Scientist mission. This file detailed Rose's death, leading to Falcon revealing his identity as OC7, the same way it was listed in his personnel file. He was eliminated shortly after in the Scientist mission, where the Freelancer had to eliminate him to extract Rivera from the safe house. That ended his story, right? What is trust? The log file, not the word. For context, a somewhat newer file called Trust was found in the Entry Point mission Concept. It's so eerie, unlike every other file Entry Point has to offer. Almost the entire file is filled with blank spaces, inviting the EP community to theorize countless different possibilities for what it really means. But what if you weren't supposed to solve it? A small group of lore hunters made a pretty big discovery while looking into the potential words behind this file. As I said, not everything can be filled in, as it's quite literally impossible to fill in that many blank spaces. But some things can be inferred, like Hal being Halcyon. Our group, however, dug out something that has long since been overlooked: the random quotes found in the Gala mission alongside Outcast, the code for Falcon's file. This group theorized that some of the quotes fit into the trust file, and they may be right. Phrases like, "they know," "can I escape," "who can you trust," "where can you hide," and "is this really it?" fit perfectly into some of the spaces provided in the trust file. This then begs the question, what does this file mean? Now, when looking at this file with the Gala quotes for the first time, it looks like two people having a conversation. Just who could these characters be? At first, our group theorized this could be Falcon and his commanding officer. After all, the Gala quotes were found alongside Outcast, the secret code for Falcon's file, so it only made sense to include him. It seemed a little off though. Like, why would Falcon be talking about escaping and trust when it really doesn't seem like his departure from Steel Cove was stealthy at all? He killed the officer he didn't agree with and was on the run. And so, after this, our group looked into a different possibility. And that's when it hit us. Falcon was one of the people talking this file, then he might have been talking to Rose. He might have been talking about the possibility of faking Rose's death. Falcon already has a history of disobeying orders he doesn't morally agree with, as shown in his personnel file. It would make perfect sense that he wouldn't agree with the director's decision to eliminate Rose's squad. Rose, on the other hand, was dealing with a whole different situation at the time. While it is not her case study right now, it is worth mentioning that this was the breaking point for her and Jackdaw, as demonstrated in the newly found confession file in Black Dusk. She no longer wanted any part in this Shadow War, so she may have worked with Falcon to fake her death, not only to Halcyon, but to Phoenix as well. This is probably why the scientist wiretap file looks so perfect. Falcon and Rose did exactly what they wanted to achieve, successfully freeing Rose from the confines of the Shadow War, while appeasing Falcon's moral beliefs and keeping his position safe in Halcyon's ranks. If this theory were true, it would explain Rose's dialogue in Epilogue and the Kill House. During the Nightmare mode, she's probably visiting the Freelancers Memorial, similar to how Jackdaw was visiting the Freelancers Memorial during Aftermath in the 2020 Halloween hit list. This is, however, just a theory, and with trust being as mysterious as it could ever be, I don't think it'll be proven one way or another anytime soon. Falcon's life ended on Christmas Eve 2016. He was killed by the Freelancer during their crusade to bring revenge to the organization that ended their best friend's life. Thanks for watching.